Jai Gurudev. So far we have arrived at Raoult's law, and for that we understood what is a volatile solute, what is a non-volatile solute, what is a binary solution, solutions in different states. So now we will concentrate on solutions which are in liquid state. So when I have a solution in liquid state and then the solute that is present in that, it can be a volatile solute, non-volatile solute. This is what we discussed in the previous classes. Now today we will concentrate on a binary solution in liquid state wherein the solute present in that is volatile. That means I have a volatile solute present in a solvent. Both are volatile. So now when both the solute and solvent are volatile, how it is going to affect vapor pressure? If I come to know how the vapor pressure is going to be affected because of the volatile solute present in that, then of course once we know vapor pressures, how they are going to determine other colligative properties, boiling point, freezing point, etc., that we will take it further. So now let us understand how the volatile solute present in the volatile solvent going to affect the total vapor pressure of the solution. So now let us take two components. The two components A and B. A is solvent for me and B is solute. Now I want to graphically represent what will be the vapor pressure of the solvent component. What will be the vapor pressure of the solute component when I have a mixture of these two, homogeneous mixture, solution in liquid state. So now when I do that graphical representation, if I have only solvent with me, what is going to be the vapor pressure of it? If I have only solvent means Xa equal to 1. Xa equal to 1 means only that solvent is present in that. And at a given temperature, what will be its vapor pressure? Suppose that value. So on the y-axis, I am representing the vapor pressure. Now what I will do is, to this I will add the solute B. I go on adding small amount of solute to this solvent A. Now as I go on adding to the solvent A, the solute B which is volatile, now the solution which is going to result will have its vapor pressure because of contribution of both A and B. Now for some time don't worry about B. As I go on adding B, what will happen to the vapor pressure contribution of A? We understood that as the mole fraction of a component increases in a solution, vapor pressure goes on increasing. But we started with only solvent. Now we are going to add B to that. So what will happen to the mole fraction of A in the solution? Mole fraction of A in the solution goes on decreasing. As it goes on decreasing, what will happen to this vapor pressure? It will go on decreasing. So as I go on adding small amount, and at one point in time, the amount of A is negligible, and I can say I have only B with me. So the amount of A goes on decreasing, and finally at one point of time I say I have only B with me, there is no more A. That means mole fraction of A goes negligible. So now when I plot a graph for how the vapor pressure contribution of A to the total vapor pressure depends. So as the mole fraction of A goes on decreasing, its vapor pressure contribution goes on decreasing. Now finally, what is that which I have at the right end to be in that graph? Xa equal to 0. Now at the same time, what has happened? When I started with, there was no solute with me in the solution, xb is 0. Now when I go on adding b, its contribution goes on increasing. Its contribution goes on increasing. If I go towards my right hand in the graph, finally I will have when xa is 0, xp equal to 1. So when I prepare a solution, I take it to such an extent that finally I say it is as if I have no more solvent with me, I have only solute with me. Now when I have only solute which is volatile with me, what will be the vapor pressure of it? There is no contribution of A to the total pressure, there is only B. So what will be the vapor pressure on the surface? Only B is contributing. What will be the vapor pressure because of B? Now it depends. How it depends? Is the B component solute more volatile than the solvent? Less volatile. Suppose it is more volatile than the solvent, vapor pressure of B will be that value. If B is less volatile, because only that is present, the vapor pressure of B will be that. So what will be the contributions of B? Depends on is it more volatile than A, less volatile. So your point on the y-axis, it can be there. If it is there, it means it is more volatile than A. If it is here, that means it is less volatile than A. Suppose it is more volatile than A. So how the vapor pressure contribution of B goes on increasing with increase in its concentration? Very simple, right? In the beginning, there is no contribution of B to the total pressure because its amount is 0. So it goes on increasing and it reaches that value. So as the B component increases, finally there is no more component of A, it is only B. So once I have this graphical representation, later if somebody asks, if I have a solution wherein mole fraction of A in the mixture is so much, mole fraction of B is understood because 1 minus, I understand. So that means what I have on x-axis is all different mixtures with different compositions of A and B with different mole fractions. Now at this composition of A and B in the mixture, what will be the pressure contribution of A, what will be the pressure contribution of B? Very easily I can read from the graph. How I can read? This line shows what is happened to vapor pressure because of B. That line shows what is the vapor pressure of A. So now if I want to find out for that composition of A and B in the mixture, how much is pressure contribution of A, how much is the pressure contribution of B? Very simple. What is that which I do? This vapor pressure will tell me vapor pressure of B component to the total pressure. Now if I extend further, that will tell me what? What is the vapor pressure contribution of A to the total solution? Very simple. I need not perform any separate experiment to find out how much is A contributing, how much B is contributing. So if I have a mixture of two volatile substances and in the liquid state, I should have a graph for this, very easily I can read. Instead of that, there is other way. Other way is, once I have a graph for this, I need not find out how much because of A, how much of because of B, I need not find out. So what that which I can do? Add those two. Now at this composition, what is the total vapor pressure of the solution? Right, straight away you go here and then tell that is the vapor pressure of the solution. Because the graph shows. Again, it is very simple to understand. Now what that which I can do? How much is this? how much is that? Add these two. How much it will be? Finally, the value will be that much. So, when you add this plus that, it is equal to from here to there directly. I need not separately add how much because of A, how much of because of B. Then here what is that which is on that line joining when only A is present, when only B is present. This is P total. This line shows P total. That is equal to PA plus PB. That line it shows. Clear? Now, when I expect that value, right, when I have a mixture, that should be the contribution of B, that should be the contribution of A. Now, if I have a mixture with that composition of A and B, and if I find out the total pressure, that value, that means what I have is an ideal solution. Ideal solution means this is what you expect because of B. That is the vapor pressure that you expect because of A. The sum of those two should be the total vapor pressure on the surface. Fine. This is what I expect. That is what I am getting. That means what I have is an ideal solution. Right? So, now what is that which I can do? Now I can understand Raoult's law. Raoult's law for a solution containing volatile solute. The total vapor pressure of the solution containing two volatile solutes or two volatile substances, the total pressure equal to partial pressures of both A and B on the surface of the liquid. That is for that is Raoult's law for a solution containing volatile solutes and solvent. Most of the time it will not happen because ideality is always an imagination, and then we want that. And as I had said in the classroom last year when we talked about ideal gas equation, to have an ideal student very difficult. And most of us, right, for sometimes or at sometimes we behave as if I am ideal, but most of the time we are real students. So, same way when I prepare a mixture of two volatile substances and when I have the solution in the liquid state, this is not the condition which I am going to get. That means most of the solutions that I prepare, they are non-ideal. Now, if I want to understand why the solution that I have prepared is non-ideal, very easily you get an answer. When will I get an ideal solution? That means when I have only A with me, between particles of A particles have some interactions, repulsions, whatever it is, it remains same. When I have B alone, between particles of B alone, there are some interactions. So, now when I have a mixture, how much is the attraction or whatever is the attractive forces that is there present between A and A particles, and what is the attraction present between and B and B? When I have a mixture between A and B, the amount of attractive or repulsive forces, whatever it is there, it is same as what it had with A. So, attractive repulsive forces are which are present between B and B, and between B and A also will remain same. Then I will get an ideal situation. But when I have a mixture of A and B, what will happen? A and B may get involved in a stronger attraction. That means when B alone is there, the interactions are there, but when you add A to or B to A, the amount of attractions that get developed between A and B will be different. So, A and B or between A and B, the attractions may be stronger. When the attractions are stronger, then what will happen? The particles of A and B escaping into the vapor state will decrease. So, I expect that particular total vapor pressure on the surface of the liquid solution, but I will not get that value. So, the number of particles of B that are escaping into the vapor phase will decrease. That means, vapor pressure contribution of B will decrease because of a stronger attraction that it has with particles of A. So same way, number of particles of A escaping into that also will decrease. In which case what will happen? This contribution which I expect will not be there. Because of A, how much I expect will not be there. Then what will happen? This body is expected under ideal conditions. And because of stronger attractions, what will happen? Attractive forces that have increased between particles have lowered the vapor pressure. Same way, more number of particles could not go into the gas phase. What has happened? The attractive forces have decreased the number of particles that are going into the vapor phase. Total vapor pressure which I expect will not be one and the same. It will be certainly less than because of the stronger attractive forces between particles of A and B. Then we say it is a deviation from Raoult's law. Why deviation from Raoult's law? Because of the attractions or the interactions that are present between A and B. Then we say it is negative deviation for Raoult's law. It can happen the other way. Other way is between A and B, the attractions that were strong. The moment I add, there will be some or an increase in repulsions between them or a decrease in the attractions between them. Same way, B and B had some attractions between them. The moment they mix with A, then what will happen? Between B and B, the attractions will decrease. Between A and B, attractions will decrease. That means more number of particles than expected will go into the vapor phase. At a given temperature, I expect because of B that vapor pressure. But what happens? Because of the repulsions that have developed between. No doubt they have got mixed up. No doubt they have got a homogeneous mixture. But within the solution, what is happening? There are repulsions between them. That repulsions will account for an increase in the amount of vapor on the surface. So same way, that was expected, straight line. But because of repulsions, more number of particles of A are escaping into more amount of vapor, more vapor pressure. So the total vapor pressure, what will happen? Will increase. So if experimentally if I get a higher amount of pressure on the surface of the solution, it is because of the repulsions between. Then it is a positive deviation. It is a positive deviation from Raoult's law. Clear? So I should know what is under ideal conditions Raoult's law and why there is deviation from ideality. Why deviation is because of attractions or repulsions that develop when the two components come together. Moving further, now if my solvent alone is volatile, if I add a non-volatile solute, what will happen to the total pressure on the solution? For that also let us draw a graph and understand. Again, start with Xa equal to 1 and A is solvent for me and B is solute. In the previous case, my solute was also volatile. Now B is non-volatile. Now if I have non-volatile solute with the given liquid solvent, what will be the total pressure on the solution? Now as I add a non-volatile solute, what will happen to the mole fraction of A? It will go on decreasing. Finally, Xa equal to 0. What will happen to Xb? To start with, it is not there. Later, Xp equal to 1. What will be the pressure contribution when I see? Xa goes on decreasing, Xp goes on. But as it is non-volatile solute, B is no way contributing to the total pressure on the surface of the solution. As I explained yesterday, particles of non-volatile solute will occupy the surface and will prevent the particles escaping into the vapor phase and accounting for the total pressure. We understood. Now, how it is going to affect? Same thing we are representing in a graphical way. So, as mole fraction of A goes on decreasing, when A alone is there, that is the vapor pressure on the solvent. Now, as you add B, pressure contribution of A goes on decreasing because particles occupy. And as mole fraction of B goes on increasing, what will happen? Finally, what will happen? You have got a liquid solution, but how much is going to be the pressure on the surface? Very less. Why? Because amount of B component, which is non-volatile, goes on increasing. So, if I say if A alone was present, this I call it as P naught A. P naught A is when A alone is present. And when I have a mixture, here I have a solution in which both A and B are present. Now, what is the pressure which I am going to find out here? If I say what is that value, that is pressure on the surface of the solution when that is the composition of the mixture, Pa I will call it. P naught A, this is small pa. P naught A is always maximum, Pa less. So, if I find out how much was P naught A, how much after preparing a solution, what is that Pa? P naught A minus Pa will give me what? I repeat, P naught A minus Pa will give me what? The decrease in the vapor pressure. P naught A minus Pa will give me the decrease in the vapor pressure. How I can represent? Very simple. P naught A minus Pa decrease. Now, how much is the decrease? How much it should have been? How much is the decrease? I repeat, how much it was, and after the preparation of solution, how much is the value? That will give me the decrease. But for how much is the decrease if I want to find out? Then of course what I will do? That I will divide by P naught A. How much it should have been, how much it is, that will tell me how much is the decrease. Going further, for how much it has decreased, divide by P naught A. That will give me what is known as relative decrease in the vapor pressure. Decrease in the vapor pressure, P naught minus Pa. That if I divide by P naught A, that will give me relative decrease in the vapor pressure. This relative decrease in the vapor pressure is depending on, go to that condition, find out that decrease will be high, but that is depending on what? Depending on the mole fraction. So, how much is going to be the decrease? How much is going to be the relative decrease? And later if I want to express relative decrease in the vapor pressure of a solution, relative decrease in the vapor pressure of a solution containing a non-volatile solute is depending on the mole fraction. Then I say is equal to mole fraction of the non-volatile solute. Right? So, if I prepare a solution with a non-volatile solute and if I determine the total pressure now on the surface, I can find out how much is the decrease. From that I can find out relative decrease. That relative decrease is depending on and it is equal to the mole fraction of it. What is xB for me? Mole fraction of B. What is mole fraction of B? What is mole fraction of B? Again we calculated, if I have two components, how to find out mole fraction of a component? Any doubt? Somebody still scratching, right? It is number of moles of B number of moles of B in the total solution divided by total number of moles of particles present in the solution. What is that which we had represented? Xb equal to Nb by Na plus Nb. So, if I find out relative degrees, I can find out mole fraction of the non-volatile solute present in that. What is that mole fraction of non-volatile solute? This is the expression that I have. What is Nb? What is Nb? Amount of B present in the solution divided by its molar mass. For that only we at stretch first understood how to find out mole fractions. Nb equal to Wb. What is Wb? Mass of B given divided by Mb. What is Mb? Molar mass of B. Right? I just want to recall that if I have 1 molar NaOH, 1 molar NaOH, we did the solution, calculated molality, mole fraction. If I remember, at this area I wrote at the top 1 by 55.5, no, not there, here I wrote 1 by 55.5, then afterwards 1 by 56.5 because of 1000 grams of water, recall all that, then very easily I can understand. Now, what type of solution if I have, how it is going to help? I can have different mixtures, but with what type of solution if I have, I can make use of this understanding to take it further. That we will see tomorrow. Right? Relax. Bye. Jai Gurudev.